The professional teachers, confirmers of legal and constitutional mandates. These are ethical and legal complexities that teachers face in the practice of teaching profession. The professional teachers are obligated at all times to model the virtues of integrity, diligence, responsibility, and respect for the self, for others, and for human life. And this is one of the big challenges for teachers because they have a lot to consider. The major concern that come along with the teacher's role as facilitators of learning are the ethics and law. These two big words are part of the teacher's curricula and relationship with students. As a teacher, it is the fundamental obligation to convey to their students that they are legally and morally bound to one another, or they must be one. Ethics refers to the system or code of morality embraced by a particular person or group. It is a moral principle which determines the rights or wrongness of particular acts or activities. Law. It is a written rule that members of the community must follow. The law is a system or practice of rules recognized as binding by a community, especially resulted from decrees by the governing authority. We all know that teaching is a very challenging profession. Everyday teaching experience requires ethical and legal teaching. As a teachers, it is important to have knowledge and practice of the law. The Code of Ethics for Teachers and Republic Act definitely help teachers avoid and solve legal and ethical issues. If the teachers are knowledgeable about the law and ethics, it will be easier for them to do their job. As teacher, they mold students which is accordance with the law and ethics. Chapter 1, Declaration of Policy Coverage. Section 1, Declaration of Policy. This section shows to promote and improve the policy and economic status of the public school teachers, their living and working conditions. It is important to know their status in life because education is an important factor in economic growth of the country as a productive investment. Section 2, Title Definition. The Republic Act 4670, better known as Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, and this act applied to all public school teachers, except those in the professional staff of state, colleges, and universities. The term teachers, meaning all persons engaged in classroom teaching in any level of instruction on full-time basis, including guidance counselors, school librarians, industrial arts or vocational instructors, and all other persons performing supervisory and administrative function in all schools, colleges, and universities operated by the government, but shall not include physician, school dentist, and other school employees. Chapter 2, Recruitment and Career. Section 3, Recruitment and Qualification. These are the qualifications for teachers applicants. 1. For teachers in the kindergarten and elementary grades, bachelor's degree in elementary education or BSEED. 2. For teachers of the secondary schools, bachelor's degree in education or its equivalent with a major and a minor, or a bachelor's degree in arts or science with at least 18 professional units in education. 3. For teachers of secondary, vocational, and 2 years technical courses, bachelor's degree in the field of specialization with at least 18 professional units in education. Last, for teachers of the courses on the collegiate level, other than vocational, master's degree with a specific area of specialization.
Recruitment and Career. Section 4, Probationary Period. No probationary period preceding regular appointment, civil service eligibility. Probationary period ay ang pagbibigay ng opportunity to assess new recruit or new teachers. Maganda ang probationary period kahit may kakulangan na sa qualification ng isang guro ay binibigyan pa rin ng chance ang isang guro na mag-train at magkaroon ng probationary period para makita talaga na qualified ang isang guro. Section 5, Tenure Office. Stability on employment and security, tenure shall be assured to the teacher as provided by their existing law. In subject to provisions, kapag ang isang guro ay nakapag-render ng service at least 10 years with a clear record, maaaring automatically ay magiging permanent yung status nila. Is her consent. No transfer shall be made 3 months before any local or national election. In Section 6, hindi ka pwedeng ilipat basta-basta sa ibang school without your consent. Section 7, Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers. Within 6 months from the approval of this Act. Ang Code of Professional Conduct ay binibigay sa mga teachers at makikita ito sa principal office. If ever na kailanganin ng teachers ay meron silang mababasa na Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers.
Ang ibig sabihin ng Section 8 ay kapag ang isang guro ay nasangkot sa isang kaso, ay mayroon siyang karapatan na maaaring magamit sa mga cases na ito. Gaya na lamang ng una, bilang isang nasasakdal o nasasangkot, ay may karapatan kang malaman kung ano ba ang mga charges na ito at dapat ito ay mayroong kasulatan upang mapatotohanan ang iyong mga charges. Ikalawa, karapatan mo na makita ang mga ebidensya ng iyong charges upang malaman kung ito ba ay totoo o pang-blackmail lamang. Pangatlo, bilang isang nasasakdal, karapatan mong ipagtanggol ang iyong sarili at karapatan mong pumili ng representative upang ipagtanggol ka mula sa iyong organisasyon upang mapatunayan na ikaw ay walang. Pang-apat, bilang nasasakdal, karapatan mong umapila sa mga otoridad kung ikaw ay wala naman talagang kasalanan. At isa pa, marapat lamang na walang publicity na maganap habang ang kaso ay nakapending pa o di kaya ay di patiyak na ikaw ang nasasakdal upang maiwasan ang anumang problema at issue sa iyong trabaho o pagtatrabaho. Section 9. Administrative charges against teacher must include the various highest officials of education. Each party will be represented when a hearing takes place. Section 10. No discrimination. Try to avoid discrimination in the teaching professions during the activities and at the end of the activities and service, and try to practice on basing the professional consideration only. Sa makatuwid, dapat sa isang case wala dapat discrimination, lahat dapat ay pantay-pantay. Section 11. Married teachers should only teach or work in one place so they can be more focused on their work.
Section 12, Academic Freedom. As a teacher, if you want to discipline your students, we can use a different methods. Or kung gusto mo lang as a teacher is to inspire the student and to teach them about example to the different values, it is another methods. There's no such things as the best method or strategy na kailangan mo na sundin ng lahat ng teacher. Sa iisang scenario, it depends on certain case. And academic freedom is something na is karapat-dapat talaga na sundin. Hindi tayo pwedeng sunod lang ng sunod kung ano yung sasabihin. Kasi you are the teacher. You are the one who are most closest to students natin. And you know them about their learning capabilities, mga skills nila. So hanggat maaari, ay hindi tayo madidiktahan ng iba na wala namang talagang knowledge about sa student na hinahandle natin. Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, Hours of Work and Remuneration. So itong batas na ito ay isang magandang uri din kasi it's not just for the good of teacher but also in providing a quality education. Kasi pag may sobrang haba ng oras na nilalaan ng isang teacher sa actual classroom teaching a day, so paano na yung ibang preparation, 'di ba? Hindi naman pwedeng lagi na lang inuuwi sa bahay. Kaya dito, it should be 6 hours yung hours of work. And if even na kailangan na mag-render more than 6 hours but not exceeding 8 hours of actual classroom teaching a day upon payment of additional compensation at the same rate at this regular remuneration plus at least 25% of this basic pay. Section 14, Additional Compensation. We are all known na as a teacher marami talagang gawain. It's not just paperwork but also considering young behaviors of the student. Hindi sa lahat ng oras yung teacher bibigyan mo ng activities or trabaho. Ang mga teachers may karapatan ding magreklamo kasi it is included dito sa Section 14 Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. So pag sumobra nga sila ng 6 hours, dapat talaga mayroon silang compensation and you can't blame them or dapat magkaroon ng additional na bayad. So, Section 15 is criteria for salaries. So, the salaries given to the teachers are also something which is not far with others. So, dapat teachers will feel na binabayaran sila ng tama. So, paano nga ba yun? So, first, they shall be paired in comparison or dapat pare-pareho yung binabayad sa kanila or equal or favor yung binabayad sa kanila or yung salary nila sa mga profession. Also, sa mga nag-i-inquire ng same requirements from the teachers like training and others. Second, dapat yung salary rin ng mga teacher is makakabuhay, makakapagbigay ng food for the family, enough to sustain the living of the family of the teachers. So that's why many teachers now are calling for increase in salary. Then the third one is, ang salary grade ng any government official is depend on a certain salary grade set by that government. Yung position or salary grade will be depend on your position and the same time your qualification. The higher you are qualified, the higher salary credit you will receive, and the higher the salary grade, the higher the salary.
Sector 16. Salary Scale. Salary scales of teachers shall provide for a gradual progression from the minimum to a maximum salary by means of regular increments, granted automatically after 3 years provided that the efficient rating of the teacher concerned is at least satisfactory. The progression from the minimum to the maximum of the salary scale shall not extend over the period of 10 years. Sinasabi rito na nararapat lamang na magkaroon ng pagtaas ng sahod kasi dahil na rin sa patuloy na pagtaas ng cost of living. Sector 17. Quality and salary scales. The salary scales of teachers whose salaries are appropriated by the city, municipal district, or provincial government shall not be less than those provided for teacher of the national government. Ang salary ng isang teacher ay dapat hindi naiiba sa salary sa isang national government, since teachers are also considered as workers of government. Sector 18. Cost of living allowance. Teacher salary shall at very least keep pace with the cost of living by the payment of the cost of living allowance, which shall automatically follow changes in the cost of living index. The Secretary of Education shall, in constitution with the proper government entities, recommend to Congress at least annually the appropriation of the necessary funds for the cost of living allowance of teacher employed by the national government. The determination of the cost of living allowance by the Secretary of Education shall, upon approval of the President of the Philippines, be binding on the city, municipal, or provincial government for the purpose of calculating the cost of living allowance of teachers under its employ. Kaya nararapat lamang na ang isang teacher is ma-promote or ma-increase ang sahod. Dahil na rin sa pagtaas ng cost of the living, and ang prosesong ito shall be worked with the Secretary of Education and the President of the Philippines. Sector 19, Special Hardship Allowances. In areas which teachers are exposed to hardships such as difficulty in commuting to the place of work or other hazard peculiar to the place of employment as determined by the Secretary of Education, they shall be compensated special allowance equivalent to at least 25% of their monthly salary. Since normally, Secretary of Education ang nagbibigay o nag-a-assign sa isang guro kung saan magtuturo, may pagkakataon na ang isang guro ay napupunta sa isang mahirap na lugar. Kaya nararapat lamang na bigyan sila ng awards dahil sa hardship na kanilang ginagawa at pinapakita para lang makapagturo.
Section 20. Salaries to be paid in legal tender. Salaries of teachers shall be paid in legal tender of the Philippines or its equivalent in checks or treasury warrants, provided, however, that such checks or treasury warrants shall be cashable in any national, provincial, city, or municipal treasurer's office or any banking institution operating under the law of the Republic Act of the Philippines. In Section 20, the salaries of teachers are paid under legal basis. Section 21. Deductions prohibited. In this section, the only deduction on teacher's salary are the monthly contribution for PhilHealth, GSIS, and Pag-ibig, and PLI, private lending institution. Unauthorized deductions are prohibited. For example, Teacher 1 borrowed money to Teacher 2. Teacher 2 is not allowed to request to school admin to deduct the payment on Teacher's 1 payroll. Health measures and injury benefits. Section 22. Medical examination and treatment. They are required for medical check-up annually for free. For example, this year teachers were given 500 pesos allowance for their medical expenses. Section 23. Compensation for injuries. Teachers shall be protected against consequences of employment injuries in accordance with existing law. The effects of the physical and nervous strain on the teacher's health shall be recognized as a compensable occupational disease in accordance with existing law. In Section 23, in case of injuries, teachers are entitled to be compensated. Leave and retirement benefits. Section 24, study leave. Teachers are given 1 year to study. In this case, while on leave, they are allowed to have 60% of their monthly salary. For example, 22,316 is the monthly salary of Teacher 1. 22,316 times 60%, so the equivalent is 13,389.6. So the salary of teacher while on study leave is 13,389.6. Section 25. Indefinite leave. In case of long treatment, indefinite leave were given to teachers. Section 26. Salary increase upon retirement. Upon retirement, one step of salary increase were given to them, will be the basis of the computation of the lump sum of retirement pay. Teachers' Organization. Section 27. Freedom to organize. Public school teachers shall have the right to freely and without previous authorization both to establish and to join organization of their choosing. whether local or national, to further and defend their interests. Section 28. Discrimination against teachers prohibited. The rights established in the immediately preceding section shall be exercised without any interference or coercion. It shall be unlawful for any person to commit any acts of discrimination against teachers which are calculated to make the employment of a teacher subject to the condition that he shall not join an organization. In Section 28, there is no discrimination against teachers. Ano man ang lahi, ano man ang kulay, kung ano man ang itsura nito, walang sino man na may karapatan na i-discriminate ang mga guro. To prevent him from carrying out the duties laid upon him by his position in the organization, or to penalize him for an action undertaken in that capacity. Section 29. National Teachers Organization. National teachers' organizations shall be consulted in the formulation of national educational policies and professional standards, and in the formulation of the national policies governing the social security of the teachers. Administration and enforcement. Section 30. Rules and Regulations. The Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare the necessary rules and regulations to implement the provisions of this Act. Section 31. Budgetary Estimates. The Secretary of Education shall submit to Congress annually the necessary budgetary estimates to implement the provision of the Act concerning the benefits herein granted to public school teachers under the employ of the national government. The Secretary of Education ay nagpapasa ng budget estimate for a year na kung saan ito gagamitin ng mga teachers at sa mga program and other facilities. Section 32. Penal Provision. A person who shall willfully interfere with, restrain, or coerce any teacher in the exercise of this right guaranteed by this Act, or who shall in any other manner commit any act to defeat any of provision of this Act. Section 33. Repealing Clause. All acts or parts of acts, executive orders, and their implementing rules inconsistent with the provision of this Act are hereby repealed, amended, or modified accordingly. Section 34. Separability Clause. If any provision of this Act is declared invalid, the remainder of this Act or any provisions not affected thereby shall remain in force and in effect. Section 35. This Act shall take effect upon its approval. The Family Code. Chapter 1. The Family as an Institution. Article 149. The family, being the foundation of the nation, is a basic social institution which public policy cherishes and protects. Consequently, family relations are governed by law and no custom, practice, or agreement destructive of the family shall be recognized or given effect. Article 150. Family relations include those between husband and wife, between parents and children, among other ascendants and descendants, among brother and sisters, whether of the full or half-blood. Article 151. No suit between members of the same family shall prosper unless it should appear from the verified complaint or petition that earnest efforts toward a compromise have been made, but that the same have failed. If it is shown that no such efforts were in fact made, the case must be dismissed. Chapter 2. The Family Home. Article 100. Chapter 2. The Family Home. Article 152. The family home, constituted jointly by the husband and the wife or unmarried head of a family, is the dwelling house where they and their family reside, and the land on which it is situated.
Good day everyone, I am Rose Ann Gonzalez from BTBT Ed FSN2 and I am going to continue the Family Code of the Philippines, Chapter 2, Article 153. Can you read Article 153? Thank you for reading. Article 153, the exemption from execution for sale or attachment provided by law is effective from the time of the constitution of the family home, such and lasts so long as its beneficiaries actually resides therein. The exemption, however, is not absolute as their obligation and indebtedness excluded from the exemption which are enumerated under Article 155. So, this Article 154 was about who will be the beneficiaries of the family home. To be a beneficiaries of the family home, the required must concur. 1. They must be among the relationship enumerated in this article. 2. They live in the family home. And 3. They are dependent for legal support upon the head of the family. So, Article 155, the family home is not exempt from execution for sale or attachment for non-payment of taxes. Taxes are the lifeblood of the government and their prompt and certain availability is an imperious name. The term that used in the law is used in the generic sense, namely obligation. In general, it includes money, judgment arising from thoughts. The whole value of the family may be used to pay off the obligation under Article 155. Article 156. The family home. The family home must be constituted a place where there is a fixed and permanent connection with the persons constituting it. The law provides that it must be a part of the properties of the absolute community or the conjugal partnership or the exclusive properties or either spouse with the latter's consent. It may also be constituted by an unmarried head of a family, his or her own property. Thus, an apartment until or a house being merely rented cannot be constituted as a family home. So, Article 157, ito ay may kinalaman sa pagbebenta ng ari-arian kung saan nakasaad sa batas na kung magbebenta ka ng bahay sa bayan o lungsod, hindi dapat ito tataas ng 300,000 at kung ikaw naman ay nasa linang, hindi dapat ito tataas ng 200,000. At kung magbago man ang halaga ng pera at ang halaga ng ninanais para sa konstitusyon ng isang tahanan ng pamilya ay magiging batayan ng pagsusuri. So, this article answered the question if there's a possible to sell the family home. So, sabi ng batas, pwedeng ibenta, pwedeng i-donate, pwedeng i-assign, or pwede mong ipamigay. As long as, number 1, the person who constituted the same, meaning yung mag-asawa or yung mga beneficiaries. A person who constituted the same must give his/her written consent. It should be in writing consent. So, number 2, the spouse who constituted the place as a family home must also give a consent. Kinakailangan both parties ang magbigay ng consent. Bago mabenta, mapamigay, o madonate, dapat may consent ng mga beneficiaries. At kung magkagulo, may ayaw at merong gustong ipamigay at walang nais na magkaisa, ang korte na ang magde-decide. So, this article tackled about can the property constituted as a family home is still considered as a family home under the family code as long as may nakatira, especially if it is a minor, even na wala na yung nag-constitute at halimbawa ay patay na ang nanay or tatay, as long as nandyan pa ang anak, the structure considered as constituted a family home will continue as such 10 years after the death of the person who constituted the family home. So, required for creditor to avail of the right under Article 160. This article, first, he must be a judgment creditor. So, second, his claim is not among those exempted under Article 155, and he must have reasonable grounds to believe that the family home is worth more than the maximum amount fixed in Article 157. Article 161, it is a chapter where the purpose was for availing of the benefits of the family home. Ang isang tao ay maaari lamang na bumuo o maging beneficiaries ng iisa lamang na family home. Hindi kinakailangan magdoble-doble pa. Ang mga provision to this chapter ay dapat mag-govern sa kasulukuyang tirahan ng mga pamilya, as the said provision are applicable. So, next is Title 6, Paternity and Relation, Chapter 1, Legitimate Children. Article 163, Relation of children may be by nature or adaptation. Natural relation may be legitimate or illegitimate. So, legitimate was a children who born in a valid marriage, and to the following article, we will discuss the other matter. Can you read the Article 164? Thank you for reading. So, this Article 164, pag sinabing legitimate children is when the children conceived or born during the marriage of parents. It is called legitimate. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga babaeng nabuntis o mga napakasalan is matatawag na legitimate yung kanilang mga anak. Hindi ito tinawag ng batas na illegitimate dahil ang ginamit na salita ay conceive or born. So, ibig sabihin, either at the two, as long as pinanganak ka at the time of the celebration or after celebration of marriage, you are already legitimate. So, Article 165, children conceived and born outside a valid marriage are illegitimate, unless otherwise provided in this code. So, this Article 165 stated that illegitimate child, those who are conceived and born outside of wedlock. Outside of wedlock, possible na nabuntis and other possibility ay nagkaanak sa ibang babae or sa ibang lalaki. So, it means conceived and born. So, can you read Article 166? Oh, thank you. So, ito naman yung mga usapang mana kung paano mapapatunayan na ikaw ay anak or hindi. So, may tatlong klase kung paano ka mapoprove na ikaw ay anak or not. So, first, to prove na hindi ikaw ang anak, physically incapable. Physically incapable to sex intercourse. The mother and the father are physically impossible. Halimbawa, naghiwalay na si nanay at tatay. So, paano nanganak si nanay? For example, first 300 days before the birth of the child, wala naman silang sexual intercourse because the mother or the father was in the other country and the mother was in the Philippines. So, paano nabuntis? So, physically incapable yun because of physical separation. And the other example of physical incapable is may sakit si nanay or si tatay. Physically incapable yun. So, first is the physical incapable of sex intercourse. Second, na para ma-prove na ikaw ang tatay is let's use the biology or the science. Dito papasok ang DNA test. So, third is hindi mo na-comply ang artificial insemination law. Dapat may pirmahan bago ipanganak ang bata. Perma ni nanay at tatay na kinakailangan na authorized at nakaregister sa NCR. So, Article 167, the child shall be considered legitimate although the mother may have declared against its legitimacy or may have been sentenced as an adulteress. So, Article 167 stated that kahit anong sinabi ng mother na hindi mo ito anak, sasabihin ng nanay yun para mapabroke lang yung tatay. Kasi, there's a circumstances that nagkakaroon ng bagong jowa ang tatay. So, nagalit si nanay. Ngayon, si tatay lang makakapagtanong nito kahit sabihin ng mga nanay na hindi ikaw ang tatay, walang bisa yun. So, yun ang nakapaloob sa Article 167. Okay, again, can you read Article 168? Thank you for reading. So, 168 stated that if kung ang bata ay pinanganak before 180 days, ang presumption dyan ay hindi anak ng bagong karelasyon, kundi yan ay anak ng dating karelasyon. Before 4 months, dun ka sa dati. Pag after 4 months, dun ka sa bago. Article 169. The legitimacy or illegitimacy of a child born after 300 days following the termination of the marriage shall be proved by who alleges such legitimacy or illegitimacy. So this article stated that no presumption for a child born after 300 days after termination of marriage. The longest gestation period of a child in the mother's womb according to law is 300 days. The father of a child born 300 days after termination of the first marriage in the absence of subsequent marriage can be anybody. While there have been cases where the gestation period reached up to 316 to 330 days. This is not normal. Hence, other convincing proofs of violation must be shown. Evidence may be introduced by whoever alleges the legitimacy or illegitimacy. So, can you read Article 170? Thank you for reading. So, 170. So, nalaman mo na isinilang ang bata within 1 year from knowing na isinilang ang bata or 1 year from recording of the birth sa civil registration. You should bring action within 1 year from that time. 1 year from the birth of the knowledge of the birth or 1 year from the registration. Before, 1 year in the same city. But now, if the father is an OFW and nalaman na lang niya, after 3 years, so pagbalik niya dito, may 3 years siya